Enjoy the rest of the broadcast.
Hola.
All right. I don't see any of our Facebook friends so far, so I hope there aren't any streaming issues. Although most people are now using YouTube, which is good. Welcome, everyone.
Yes,
Hello,
welcome.
Charles.
Welcome, fellow
Hello,
YouTubers.
Tanya. All right.
Yes.
So you've been in the boss's chair this week, huh? How you doing?
See, yes, doing pretty good. Like I said, it's just been, pushing paper and making sure things run like they're supposed to, which is good.
Being the commandant. So
yeah. So my goal is just not let the place burn to the ground while he's gone. So then when he comes back, I'm like,
yeah, there you go.
So
just give him a place to come back to. So we are at Sinister Ministries 4. Hey, congratulations, episode 60. Nice round number.
Yes, Sinister Ministries 4.
Sinister Ministries. We're kicking off these Sinister Mysteries now because we're not doing them every other week. We're doing them in bunches, which is good. And we have a bunch more coming up that are exciting, weird, kooky, odd, and interesting vice president picks next week.
Yes, that'll be really cool.
Yeah, that'll be fun. We're gonna debunk Amityville in a couple of weeks. So yeah, we got some cool stuff coming on.
I mean,
yeah,
this kind of little thing about too the JFK files. It looks like there's this will tie in for next week too. It looks like there's some little, kind of like tie-ups that have happened. That's kind of pointing finger at LBJ as being a little more involved than was really being led on to. So that's going to be a really nice thing too. That's going to add to that.
I think folks go back and check out our JFK RFK assassination episode because we got a lot of things right. I've been looking at this for a really, really long time. Craig, I had said to you in a private conversation, and I'm seeing a lot of people who are really kind of hooked into the whole JFK assassination. Nothing here that's really surprising, but very confirming, and that's nice too because inevitably, they got to rip the bandage off now. But yeah, I don't think LBJ cared for JFK all that much and had just enough ambition.
Yeah, there's a lot of that stuff, and it looks like there's one. It's not so much like grand revealing of like, oh, here's something that we didn't know. No, it's more that for anybody that pulls the strings, try to find. It's showing the interconnected of the web. You realize just how much of a threat JFK was becoming to CIA and the intelligence community. And now it makes sense why they would get with the players that are involved in the deep state, LBJs, and stuff, why they would be involved. And there's a really good chance that, they were part of all plan of how do we get rid of this guy? And well, this is going to be our great opportunity. And whether or not you like him or not, Glenn Beck did a special on this, and he recreated the shooting. He had a platform, and he actually, with the weapon and the stuff that he did, and Glenn Beck pulled off the shots. So it's quite, Oswald could have been a lone gunman in this thing. It's like so it was, it was pretty interesting seeing that part. So I mean, there's a lot of stuff that's coming out with just details that are able to connect dots, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah, the real interesting stuff is the E. Howard Hunt stuff, the George Bush stuff. There are copies of memos that have been floating around for a while in the JFK assassination community that I brought up where they talk about wet weather. That's code for an assassination. They borrowed that from Russia.
Wow.
Well, look, he, and I know we covered all of this and we got some ground to cover tonight, but he fired the head of the CIA, Allen Dulles and his brother, John Forster Dulles, who was a former Secretary of State, were primary board members in the United Fruit Company that controlled all of Central America. There's that whole Cuban mess, everything you and I have covered that wound up the culmination of Condor and all. And they screwed up the Bay of Pigs so badly that he fired him, and he fired his deputy assistant director of the CIA, whose last name was Cabell. His brother was the mayor of Dallas the day that JFK was taken down. Like, it's all right there. The arrogance is so right there. Craig, I also too kind of surprised. It's the 33rd parallel, and I really do subscribe to the theory that it was the ritual killing of the king, and that the three hobos are Jubella, Jubello, and Jubellum, and there's this.
It's pretty cool. I said
how things went to shit after he died. Right? I think the ritual kind of works. So yeah, we might have to revisit that. We'll keep going. Oswald was definitely a disposable patsy. I don't even know if he was smart enough to think that he was a special agent. But anyway, don't trust the Conjuring movies. Yeah, I'm with you. But that's Blum, but Blumhouse is making entertainment, so. But anyway, let's see. So we're going to start with tonight. We're going to start with the, which I guess you could call the American family, but the Manson family was also called the family. The Process, which was the satanic cult in California, Greg, was also called the family. Everybody's the family. The mob calls it La Familia. But anyway, this is the family, otherwise known as the Fellowship Foundation, which was founded in 1935 by a Methodist minister whose name was Abraham Verida. And he founded it in Seattle. And the idea was to bring influential, non-denominational Christian political and business leaders together. These always start so innocent with like, okay, intentions. Like, who could argue with that, right? They emphasize the power of Jesus's teachings. That's fine. Power of spiritual connection, all good. Presented itself as non-denominational, but its focus was really conservative evangelical values, which, there you go. The philosophy was Jesus plus nothing. Jesus is all you need. Jesus is behind the wheel, a direct relationship with Jesus over traditional church structures. So that means nada on the Catholics for sure, because they're the king of mediators. You know what I mean? And personal morality and accountability, which, hey, amongst business leaders and political leaders, personal morality, that's a good thing. Verida goes away in the 60s, and he's succeeded by a dude named Douglas Coe, who kept a very low profile, took it in a new direction. And really set out to expand global reach. He decentralized leadership. So basically, senior members of the group could go out and focus on one-to-one mentorship among the elites. So this sounds like a lot of things. It sounds like our old friends in Scientology. You want to get the powerful people, the people in.
And that's kind of where, like, it really, real quick, that's where some of the controversy comes in here, is because there's no real oversight of this thing. And so you're sending these people out. And so it's almost like agents that are going out and disseminating into these things with nobody really to answer to, except for the head, the patriarch of this thing. And that's where it seemed, the real nefarious side, because then without any, like if you have like a set, corporate structure or something, you have the rules, you go, this could simply just be, decide, I want you to do this. And you have all these people doing different agenda things, and there's no way to know who's doing what. That's where a lot of, like, when I found, that's where a lot of controversies came into this part. And that's, as you're going into, like, with Eisenhower and.
Yeah, because I was going to say Ike, Nixon, Reagan were all very connected. Every U.S. president since Ike in 1953 has attended or supported the annual National Prayer Breakfast, which is a key event attended by U.S. and international leaders. So that's who founded the National Prayer Breakfast, folks, which I've always found to be very kind of odd in a supposed separation of church and state country. And it was not, I won't say it was controversial, Craig, but it was very newsworthy when Trump sort of made a big deal about going to the National Prayer Breakfast, because you got to play the game. So the leaders of this organization adopt biblical principles in decision making. So again, God is my co-pilot, God is my guide, let go and let God. But they avoid public advocacy on controversial issues. So again, the more Like Coe is really smart. Okay, if I step into the shadows and send out my guys with this message of Jesus and personal morality, then I can get a lot done. And that's so they don't get it very loud. Like you don't hear, they're not like the think tanks. They're not the Heritage Foundation or anything like that, speaking very loudly. They do advocate for free market capitalism, which is very odd when it's just Jesus and Jesus was in the temple screaming about the money changers. That's I don't quite know how you reconcile that. Opposed to women's and LGBTQ rights.
And that's
I'll
where it
stop
kind of
right
falls
there.
into some of the thing too about the subsidized housing too, because where it's like, how do you can say, okay, I'm not part of this organization, I'm not right there, but yet you're getting a benefit from it. So this would be like any kind of lobbyist. This is a Christian lobby group that is giving subsidized housing. Nobody would be fine if Pfizer had an apartment complex and was putting members of Congress or the Senate in this housing and was paying for their housing. Everybody would be like, whoa, no, they'd be calling it out. Well, this one, it's the same thing. There's not really a huge outcry when one of these members of the Congress is doing this thing too. It's the same thing. It's a kickback. It's a kickback for ensuring that their agenda is brought forth, as often as as often as needed, but it's, as often as it's needed.
And the hits that the family have taken has been because of the C Street house. So I got a couple more things before we get there. Former members say that it's cult-like, but emphasizing loyalty and its mission over personal beliefs or ethical concerns. So you're expected to be all in. Like with any kind of cult or heavy organization, you're supposed to be all in. A main thing that they have for training and events is called the Cedars. Is in a secluded estate in Arlington, Virginia, very, very close to the action. Of course, that's central for them. Young, ambitious staffers and aides attend private prayer meetings, luncheons, and Bible studies. So you're getting the younger guys, the guys who are sort of, Craig, they're sort of an analog of, like, say, sergeants in the military that keep things running day to day. These young aides who, want to go on and do other things. These staffers, they like the power. They have internships, fellowships, and other opportunities for these young staffers to engage with senior political and business leaders. So they go out to the elite. They recruit the boys in the bubble. The boys in the bubble get on the hill, and then their contacts deepen. So it's sort of like value added. Okay, I'm a young guy. I just got out of Harvard, just got out of Yale, just got out of Stanford, just got out of Brown. I'm on the hill, but now I have this extra access. And all I have to do is go to Arlington once a month and attend these, retreats and things like that.
There's C Street, that C Street Center. That's the whole thing. They even at one point transferred ownership to another, outfit to shield part of that criticism that this is direct influence. Well, nobody's buying it because you can easily tie the new entity right to them. So there's no so that didn't really deflect anything. I mean, one of the biggest things too is you pretty much are shielding yourself in. This is kind of where the Sinister Ministry comes in. You're shielding yourself in the cloak of religion to get like the tax. So you're basically going tax exempt status as a lobby firm.
Yeah.
And that's one of the big controversies on this is it's like anything else. Everybody else has to play by these rules, but because you can shield yourself in the cloth, put on the little thing right here, and all of a sudden you're tax exempt while you're doing the same exact thing that the pharma lobbies are doing right next to you. But you're tax free.
Right on. So let's talk about C Street, which is really the C Street house, as they call it. 133 C Street, Southeast, Washington, D.C., right near Capitol Hill. It's all about access. It's all about proximity with these guys. It's a multi-unit townhouse where the members of Congress have lived or gathered for Bible study and fellowship. Again, nothing wrong with that. All these guys go to church. I love Tim Burchett, although he's really I think Tim Pridgett struck a deal recently, and he's not quite himself. But Mike Turner, who was the head of the Senate Intelligence Committee from here in Ohio, he was trying to get Burchett booted out, like he was funding a campaign against Burchett, which Burchett overcame. Well, when Trump got into office right away, Turner was out. Mike Johnson was like, you're no longer head of the Senate Intelligence Committee. As a matter of fact, you're no longer on the Senate Intelligence Committee. And I think a deal was struck with Burchett about matters of disclosure and things, but he kind of seems off. Sorry, I digressed there a little.
Oh, no, that's just it. That's what I think. It's like that C Street really, is kind of like the main inner workings. I mean, if you look at these ones, I know some of the notable ones, the people that have stayed there before, John Ensign, Tom Coburn, Todd Aiken, these ones that have either resided there, lived there, and the reports were that sometimes these people were charged as little as $600 to $950 a month to live there. Well, if anybody knows the DC market, that's it. I mean, even the projects type, just the slums, aren't that cheap. So this is, so you could definitely tell that there's some influence peddling.
So this C
and I'm
Street,
keeping it clean, everybody. I got to crack this thing open. I'm putting it below the desk. So when everybody gives me the "where's your hands" thing,
the C Street house is actually classified as a church or ministry by the family, so it's tax exempt under federal law. This meeting place, the below market rent. Residents reportedly pay $600 a month for rooms in an area where rents typically exceed $2,000 a month. So they're not saying, hey, let us give you cheap housing when you're in DC and you won't get anything from it. So you mentioned a couple guys. I have some other guys. I got 2009, Mark Sanford. Remember him, the governor of South Carolina, admitted to an affair with an Argentinian journalist after disappearing for several days. The family gave him spiritual counseling. Spiritual counseling.
It's called a safe house.
Yeah, you mentioned John Ensign. Do you have notes on him?
No, I wrote down some notable names so that way, in case anybody was thinking, because that's one of the things that people look into these things. You're like, these guys aren't poor, but you can definitely tell there's a reason why they're doing this one, because as a religious thing, what's one of the things? It's kind of
John Ensign was a senator from Nevada, had an affair with a campaign aide. So we have a theme here. Her husband also worked for him. So he wasn't only sleeping with an aide, but he was sleeping with another staffer's wife. Colleagues at the house advised him to pay the aide's family $96,000. I'm not quite sure how they came up with that number. Maybe it's a certain number plus 20.
Somebody's debts.
A certain number plus 27, sir.
Yeah.
And then there was an ethics investigation. And then there was old Chip Pickering, a representative from Mississippi, extramarital affair there, actually had the affair there. Estranged wife alleged that the family facilitated it, but then covered it up. But she was angry, and but there could be something to that. Yeah, and
Absolutely.
then they have just gotten more and more and more powerful, building relationships with authority. So now they go international. The roots are solid here in America. I think you can all see that already. So then they build relationships with authoritarian leaders under the guise of promoting Christianity. Just like the Kissingers and people like that have also gotten into bed with authoritarian leaders under the guise of free market capitalism. So
I'm gonna get myself in probably a little trouble with some people here, but one might even say that there's another large organization that does this on a routine thing, that their headquarters is located somewhere within the country of Italy. There might be another organ that does an influence peddling throughout the world via a church organization.
Yes, and quite a large war chest.
Yes.
or God chest or Jesus chest. Yeah.
Spinning that Jesus cash.
So what they like to do, like so many religious organizations, so many nonprofits and all, they go out and have bake sales and they canvas and they have get to know us and they host pickings. These guys go right to the top and then let the leaders talk up what they're doing. You know, Craig, is the oddest thing. Well, you know, because you watched the whole Leah Remini Scientology thing. When they hooked Louis Farrakhan and the Church of Islam, Nation of Islam, the Nation of Islam, and so all the leaders of the Nation of Islam are starting to say to their people, like, you really should get like the entraining and hold the cans and the oddest thing. So that's how they did this thing. Then they partnered with charitable projects, which Scientology, of course, lies about and doesn't really do that. They make it look like they do to advance their ideology. They sponsor schools, leadership training, initiatives in developing countries. That's how the game is played, right? Hamas, that's how they built themselves in Hezbollah. Building hospitals, building schools, ingratiating themselves with the people. I
likened it kind of to like the flag behind you. They set themselves up, and that's one of those. That's part of, like, for me, like when I was doing like the sinister angle of this thing. It's not that they're outwardly like this evil intention and stuff, but it's just one of those. It's a self-serving. It's a self thing where it's through the self-promotion, and it's the Templars were almost that same way. They did a charitable side. They made the travel routes safer. They did all these things, but at the same time, it was influence peddling, monetary. They were growing more and more powerful and stuff throughout the process. And this is kind of, for me, it was what the family was doing. By doing this, by going abroad now you can go backdoor channels. Now you have the leaders that are part of here in the US that are part of this group. Now you have another channel to talk to these other people abroad, and you can discuss these things through parishioner. You could have priests. You have this little thing where I was just talking with my pastor. I didn't have any control over the pastor moving this stuff, setting up these meetings, and that's how you get around a lot of the ethics rules and a lot of the other governmental rules that are in place to prevent these things. Right.
Absolutely. Now, they got on the hook politicians and leaders from Africa.
That's awesome.
All those poor people in Africa. Wow. I went Midwest all of a sudden. Geez. Politicians, leaders from Africa, Asia, Europe, and Latin America. Now, this is sinister to me. It just is. Uganda's president, Yoweri Museveni, had the 2009 Anti-Homosexuality Act, Kill the Gays Bill, anti-LGBTQIA plus programs in Africa. And former Indonesian President Suharto, who was a real sweetheart, 67 and 98, was a Muslim. But hey, because it aligned with anti-communist agendas, he went ahead and pushed the family. No problem. Christian, Muslim, we're all on the same team. And Craig, how you've been really hammering home that really this back channeling for diplomacy. Again, it's non-elected people with a lot of access who then go out and okay. Maybe I shouldn't. I'm not going to say backdoor, but go behind the scenes. Go behind the scenes to Africa and other places. And
well, you said it, like Kissinger. This was basically, it was the same kind of model, but this is on the religious side of the fence. Where it's like, no, we're doing this through this part. It definitely has that thing where you could definitely make an absolute case that they were doing it intentionally to skirt the rules.
Oh yeah, no question. Yeah. And harder to make a case against that they're not a ministry. They very much are a ministry in the fact that they're pushing Jesus and all. Scientology is just beyond me. That was just bullying and blackmail, and folks, if you
epitome
want to,
of making money off of a religion.
yeah,
That's,
which isn't a religion though.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with religion. I mean, it's horrific. But anyway, that's my end for the family. If you're interested in more, you could check out Jeff Shartlett's book, The Family, The Secret Fundamentalism at the Heart of American Power. He lived with them and then like broke and wrote an expose.
I think it was Netflix. Was it Netflix that had the
2019?
document?
Yeah, right on. That's how I first found out about him. That was some.
Yeah, I was going to say
crap.
Hulu, but I was like, I'm pretty sure it was Netflix. Is what you know.
Oh yeah, Netflix always brings it, man. And you have anything to close out the family before we move on to the uber weird?
Yeah, they were pretty much. This is where it gets into, like I said, we pretty much summed it up. It's like you have one where it started out as, I mean, you can make the case they started out with the best of intentions. We're a religious group, that really wants to make sure that God is not lost within politics. But then, just like anything that goes to DC, it gets, bastardized, becomes corrupted by the power. If I just do this, then I can do this, and then you're hooked. Then you're part of the process.
Yeah, and when you have this existing thing, and you have a really ambitious guy come in like David Coe or a David Miscavige, who's on a whole nother level, and really Hubbard set the bar so high. But yeah, so let's talk about a proper UFO cult.
This is good. And now did you say you didn't know anything about this before I brought it up?
No, it's the one we're doing in a couple weeks. Timber Sycamore I still know nothing about.
Oh, okay.
No, Rael, which is the proper pronunciation. Although we want to say Rael, right?
Yeah, Rael.
It's Rael, how they pronounce it in French. No, I watched the documentary, the Netflix documentary, which I think was just last year. Yeah, 2024, The Alien Prophet. And it was shocking. Tanya and I were watching it. Kings of Tupelo is at the top of my list of the weirdest ass Netflix documentary I've ever watched ever. If you guys haven't seen Kings of Tupelo, you got to watch that. Elvis impersonators and every other CIA rogue agents, and have you seen that, Kings of Tupelo?
I've seen part of it. Like I said, I haven't been able to.
It's nuts.
I need to finish
it last week. But anyway, yeah. So the Raelians, founded in 1974 by Claude Villeron. I want to preface so much of what we're about to talk about for the rest of the show by saying that this guy did pull some legitimate things. So there was an interesting conversation happening in the chat room between two people, difference of opinion that I think was a little bit of a misunderstanding because the one thing didn't really have to do with the other thing. But some of the things that he pulls from are legit. I've lived them. I've studied them. So I just want to say that. So founded in 1974 by Claude Villeron, had a supposed ET encounter in December 1973 with beings called the Elohim. Now, as an experiencer, as someone who knows many, many experiencers, one who is currently visited all the time, and there have been witnesses because when she stays at people's houses, there weird things go on in her bedroom in the middle of the night. But the Elohim, right? We've had Craig between us. We've had Michael Carter. We've had Ken Gusward. We've had Wallace Wagner. And all these guys talk about the Elohim as being ETs, off-world intelligences who came to Earth at a certain point, right? There's this really interesting conversation going on about what's beneath the pyramids. This wild stuff, man. So anyway,
I don't want to delve on it. We'll have to talk about that at some point too, by the way.
Which thing? Oh, the
pyramids, the new things.
Yeah, let's see how it develops, because right now everybody's yelling.
Well, not tonight. Like I said, we'll do this at a later time. But yeah, we'll have to discuss that one.
Yeah, I want to see it. I want to see it develop a little more, and then maybe we can, because I've been studying. The pyramids as energy plants seems to make a lot of sense, and the Nile flowed right past them, so you had a water source to convert to energy, and we could do that. I have some great stories that I've collected from people about who have spent time in the periods, like at night in the King and Queen's chamber and stuff. So we could definitely do that, dude. That'd be awesome. I guess that would be a Into the Outer Realms episode, which would be good. So anyway, so the Elohim, legitimate. The theory is legitimate that they're non-human intelligence. We're good there. People do have ET encounters. So again, just like somebody who behaves really, really badly and happens to have autism doesn't mean everybody with autism behaves badly. I'm trying to like not have people lose their minds in the chat room tonight. So this guy is pulling from very legitimate stuff and warping it. Okay.
Yeah, it's like the image right here below us. That was their thing. It was a combination of the Star of David and the swastika. And they went back to not the Nazi swastika. They were going to the Buddhist one, which was the symbol of peace, and the Star of David, which was a cyclical universal process. And so they were trying to show the peace is universal, it's cyclical. They were going, that was the whole thing. But there was so much controversy around it, they no longer use that symbol. But because it's Sinister Ministries, I wasn't going to give them a pass. So we used their controversial one.
Yeah, no, not at all. Star of David, right.
Yep.
But the Star of David is really kind of interesting. It's really two interlocking triangles. The alchemical symbols for water and fire, and the highest attainment of spirituality on a alchemical level, even more so than transmuting gold, which is really a metaphor, is to have water and fire coexist. So it's just a really interesting symbol. And of course, yes, the Tibetan symbol of good luck and good fortune was the swastika, which Hitler saw as a youth at a Buddhist temple in Austria, and then commandeered, and they reversed it. As
and then the triangle upright and inverted too is also a symbol of the blade and chalice. Which ties into the sexual aspect of Rael and his organization. And so that's and Ed, welcome to the show. We got Facebook. Somebody from Facebook made it.
Yeah, so it seems to be streaming fine. So that's good. Well, my page anyway. But so what did the Elohim tell him? They told him that all life on Earth was created by their advanced genetic engineering, and he would be their prophet. Now, the first part of that, I actually happen to subscribe to that. I don't want to say ancient astronaut theory because a lot of junk comes with that, right? I don't want to say aliens, but anyway, I do believe that the Anunnaki or some form. I haven't had a guest on the show, Patricia Corey, who claims to channel the Syrians, and supposedly they mucked around in our DNA. So again, it starts off like, okay, this is kind of solid stuff, even though it's very out there. It's solid stuff within the field. So he's going to be their prophet. So he changes his name to Rael, derived from the Hebrew Ra, light of God, El, God. So it's a little repetitious, the light of God, God. And in 1974, the Raelian movement is officially founded in France. And what it winds up being really is this really interesting, eclectic mix of science fiction, atheism, and free love, baby, because it's good work if you can get it as a cult leader to get some of that sex in there.
And this is one of the things, like best I can see, like things they claim to have about 85,000 members worldwide as part of this one. But as we go through this, even though as we talk about this one, people you're gonna say, I'm actually amazed it's as small as it is, because the way between UFO groups, I mean everything else, this one, I think out of all the cults that we've done, this is the one where I could see more people being willing to go for, because there's no giving up your entire lifestyle. There's no give everything to me, give everything. There's nothing like this aspect of it. This is literally, you could go to a UFO group that believes in something, and half these members would easily qualify to consider themselves. What is it? Raelists? Is that how you'd say?
Yeah, I guess the
I-
Raelians in the American
Raelians, I mean,
pronunciation, but I also
yeah.
think Raelian is how Americans would say it, and we're in America, so America.
Yeah, and so you could see it because, like you just said, it's touching on it. The Elohim. I mean, you could see this. This hits on biblical names. This hits secular. The Anunnaki. This hits on all the ancient. I mean, ancient aliens show might from history might as well just be some of the promotional material for this group, because this is the stuff they believe in. Everything genetically engineered. The ancient astronauts came down and they've created. I mean, this is what they believe.
Yeah.
Now, then, like I said, this is where as we go, we'll get into the little weirder thing. I mean, that doesn't mean I believe in aliens. That suddenly off come the clothes. Let's do it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which
so
seems but where all cults go. You got to sleep with the Holy Father in order to make it to salvation, baby.
So you want to stake your claim. You want to build your membership. So you got to do a little PR. And sometimes that means beating up on your competition. So mainstream religions have distorted human history and suppressed the truth of our alien creators. Well, again, Craig, I happen to agree. So if I was listening to a Raelian, like over coffee that I met at the local coffee house or something, and they said, "Hey, you're wearing a alien t-shirt or something, I'd love to talk to you." I'd be like, okay, this is interesting. I buy this. Human cloning is the pathway to eternal life by transferring consciousness into new bodies. On one hand, I want to go like Ron White, close. But
yeah.
On the other hand, I want to go, that also kind of sounds a little bit like reincarnation. So I can't completely dismiss it, right? This is interesting. This is fun.
Yeah, because they're right on transhumanism right here too. I mean, this is is basically the downloading of yourself through this. I mean, they preach, like you said, you're sitting in a coffee shop. The guy's telling you, it's like, hey, we believe in peace. We believe, these are the scientific things. We think that the secret to bettering ourselves is through genetic engineering. Where have we been hearing this from? Everybody's working on these aspects, and that's and that's why I said I'm actually amazed that their numbers are as low as they are, because this is, I mean, like I said, what group you talked about, you haven't watched that hasn't hit on 80-90% of what they follow.
Yep. So now we get into, well, let me hold on to that. Well, no. Okay. So what they say, not unlike Rasputin, there's just so many parts and pieces to all of this. Not unlike Rasputin and maybe the what was not NVIDIA, Nexium, the Nexium guy, David Koresh, some of these other guys. Sexual freedom and sensual meditation. That's interesting. I've meditated for a long time. Not sure what a sensual meditation is. And that's a way to collect with the Elohim. So, admittedly, and I've talked about this on the show, Tanya and I have learned different techniques, tried different techniques to connect with, to communicate with non-human intelligences. So again, I'm like, okay, and if you guys want to have a little sensual meditation, that's cool. Maybe that's not my bag or your sexual freedom, but so far we're good.
Because I looked real quick. I looked in that stuff, like, so would it be more like, I'll drop name Sting. He always claims that him and his wife, the tantric sex.
Oh yeah.
Through the so I mean, and I never came across anything that there's really any allegations of like downright sexual misconduct by the leadership, or where there's ones because you don't see a lot like the Me Too movement. You don't have a lot of people coming out and saying I was sexually assaulted by by these people that believed in it. It's more of the stuff where it's the generalized complaints is what I came across. I was involved in this thing and I don't like I didn't like what happened. But it wasn't anything. It was like the cults. I'm talking like the Sinister, like the cults, where they're actually the process is to go out and do that. It's one of those things, like it's just like anything. Everything gets parties. There's always going to be the thing where it gets out of control. but I never found anything that looked like it was a structural. This was the intent from the beginning. Like this is what I plan to do all along.
Talking about the Raelians.
Yeah, like I said, I never really
found. Going to be interesting because I have almost a whole page.
Yeah, because that's what I like. Because I never found, like I said, I never found some like the offset. I just found like your normal where it seemed to get, things got out of control.
Okay.
Like your normal one. But I never found like this was the beginning. This is my way to sleep with all the women's. Is by doing this thing.
It doesn't seem like
NXIVM.
Claude really, but
yeah,
but look,
like NXIVM.
This is going to be interesting.
Yeah, like branding all the women. I never saw anything like that.
Oh no, the NXIVM.
That's long-winded, but that's kind of what I was getting at. I never saw like that nefarious side of it.
Right on. So we did an episode early on in Sinister Mysteries, fairly early on. We did an episode on Rasputin. You guys might want to check that out. Absolutely fascinating dude. Based a character in my first fantasy novel on Rasputin, a mad monk. Very interesting. And it took a lot to kill that dude. He was hard to kill, as the action movies say. So now they want to go sort of all in with this. The Elohim are going to come back and we want to make a nice place for them. So they solicit donations and they seek to build an embassy in Jerusalem, a logical place to welcome the Elohim upon their return. And in 2018, so not that long ago, they offered, excuse me, so sorry. They offered Israel $50 million for permission to build near Jerusalem. The offer, some places it says the offer was outright ignored, and there are less passive responses to the idea. But even in 2018, Craig, they had $50 million. They do like to get wealthy people into the design plans included a domed structure with a landing pad for the Elohim spaceship. So you got to be prepared. I mean, what did they
got to wait for him to come back?
Scientology has 10 houses decorated with place settings set out every night for when L. Ron Hubbard comes back. Just so odd. Anyway, there are living quarters for the Elohim and for selected human representatives. So
here we go.
We're all created equal, but some of us are more equal than others, right, Odd?
Well, that brings in the geniocracy.
Yeah. Nice one. Good word. A museum and education center for Raelism teachings. You want to talk about that a little?
What, the geniocracy?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where because we're kind of into like the clonade thing as we're coming into this period is what they feel is, and this is kind of where it's almost like foreshadowing the symbol down here that they would just kind of, it's almost an irony that they picked that center symbol because they believe that they're those that are genetically superior over others, and those are the ones that are to be the masters of all the races. If everybody can know the hinting I'm putting here. So it's kind of almost, the irony is incredibly thick that that swastika would be the used symbol, and that they would end up with these thoughts of, because I have superior genetics, I am therefore I get the special quarters over
eugenics.
And that's and this is where some of the nefarious thing comes in, and this way I said it's just like anything. They may have an innocent beginning, but things always seem to track. They as they didn't fall apart as things happen, and that's I don't know. It's for me. I think that especially with like the geniocracy, it's just especially the fact that they started really putting that as the governance. Like those that were superior were the ones that were to govern.
Yeah,
and the rest, well, not superior. You were still useful. You were still going to be useful to the Elohim and the creators when they arrived. But it's the part of the geniocracy that is to determine which direction we go.
Yeah,
and that's how you end up with the angels in '98,
right? Which has shades of we Sinister Mysteries 3. We did what's it called? Not help me finish
That
it.
that's that one. Yeah, the long. I'd have to look
The
at the
Japanese
paperwork.
one,
Yeah,
where
it's
it's
that
the
one where it's just like the.
it's
Yeah.
it's the 100,000 from Revelation. So
Got it here
who
somewhere.
are the 100,000? A little competition is good though, right?
Yep.
Keeps everybody active and showing up. So here's where it gets dark. This is where they got outed. This is where probably their numbers aren't what they could be and all. They have been accused for decades of promoting pedophilia and inappropriate relationships with minors.
Mhm. And
There
this is
are
that's I'm going to clarify what I said earlier. See, this is what I think. That's what I was trying to say. It's like from the outset, they didn't start out this way. Like from the very beginning, it's like yeah, and that's like you said. It was like they didn't promote it. Like you said, it's like then it just started to track. It kind of went like the hippie movement, where it's like it's free love. We're going through this, and then the cult leader starts going kooky.
Yes,
That's kind of that's what it said. It's like try for everybody that listens to the beginning. Keep following along. You'll realize Craig wasn't off as often left field as it sounded.
right, because there are some documented statements by Rael endorsing child sexuality.
Yeah,
and then there were some links to the pro pedophilia movement. So that's NAMBLA,
and that's where that's where the. Because, like I said, it's one of those you can see. I think if people just go from the beginning, it's like you really have to do like what most people don't dig into the things that they just like any other things. No, we don't do that anymore. That's those weird people that are over in that part that do that.
Right, and they've never. I'm going to list 3 or 4 court cases right now, really, really quickly. And nothing came of any of them. So they were no member of Raul's group ever was convicted of the things, but there were a lot of cases. So 1992, French investigation of child grooming, no charges filed. 2001, also in France, claims of minor abuse, no legal consequences. 2003, Canadian child custody case involving claims of inappropriate sex-related teaching of minors. Nothing came of that. 2004 in Belgium. So this is multiple countries. You have France, you have Canada, you have Belgium, you have Brazil. Belgian authorities' investigation dropped due to lack of evidence, but the Belgians did say we can't prove it, but you are a dangerous cult and you are banned from our country. And then 2005, so there hasn't been, they definitely backed way off of this. They finally kind of got it.
I think they just buried it.
Yeah. 2005 in Brazil, Raelian leaders were accused of sexually exploiting minors in a commune associated with the movement. Not fully prosecuted, but again, negative press, government scrutiny. So I think, Craig, probably some conversations were had, and do your business in quiet because it brings heat. We're trying to do something here.
It's almost like the pre-scandals. It's like things got moved around to make these things go away. And because that's kind of, like I said, that was like what I was going there. I couldn't really find anything where there was an actual conviction, anything that was actual, and I think it's one of those that there was a lot of actions where somebody got it. I mean, you can go like to where it's they did something, but there wasn't enough proof to ever really prove it. And before anything could really go for it, you're like, okay, you need to kind of go to the background. And we're not going to see you anymore.
Exactly. And when you're declaring that one of your core tenets is sexual freedom and sensual meditation, people are going to cross the line because you're all but erasing the line, which brings it into, and you're also drawing people who go, oh, wow, they're like a free and open society, and I have certain proclivities. Maybe I could have a home here. So good. So we can, let's, the last piece of this puzzle is really, really interesting. And I remember this when it all came out. In 1997, a senior Raelan and chemist, a well-respected chemist named Dr. Bridget Bosselier, establishes Clonaid for human cloning research, which goes right back to their roots, which goes right back to what he was originally called by the Elohim. So this is their core mission. On December 26th, day after Christmas, December 26, 2002, the Eve cloning scandal erupts when Clonaid claims that on December 27th, with a big press conference in Hollywood, Florida, that they have cloned the first human whose name is Eve. That was, people were like, the what now? Because that was right around the time, Craig, where were they German, Dutch? Someone cloned sheep. Like,
Yeah, it was Scott. I think it was in
legit.
Scotland, wasn't it?
Oh, but yeah, maybe.
I think it was. I think it might have been Scotland where they did. Trying to remember the name of the sheep. Yeah, it was like, yeah, they cloned a sheep, and that was when it was really taking off, where everybody was, and then it was almost like if I remember right, it was a UN involvement where it was kind of like a worldwide, banning of, cloning things,
Yeah.
like making sure that these things did not keep progressing like they were.
Yeah, the U.S. Congress.
Dolly sheep. Yep.
Yep. My
mouse.
My mouse. Okay. Charles, help us here. Wasn't there an outbreak of life finishing back in the early aughts of Raelians? I don't know what that means. Life finishing.
I'm trying to think is that the way of saying that unalived?
Oh, not that I found in my research.
Yeah, I think that's what I meant. It's like the unaliving.
Yeah, did you find anything, Craig, with that?
I don't remember really coming to anything, because I know there's drawn comparisons to a lot of the teachings of the Heaven's Gate and stuff like that. And there's a thing. I'm sure that there probably were people that were just like anything else. It's just kind of like what Joey said. You're going to have certain ones where you're going to have the ones that are just like the free love hippies that, tantric love, and they're doing all this stuff. But then you're going to get some of the ones, like he said, they're like, the deviancy is going to create, and it's going to be the same way. You're going to have some people that are here that are going to feel the only way I can truly get to the creators is by the Heaven's Gate method. I gotta, that's the way I can prepare myself to become one with the universe. I found a lot of those kind of things, but I never really found anything where there was like a mass, like this is like official policy. Right. Same way with this same thing, like the sexual thing. The only thing I could really find for me that was like truly like an official like act one was in 98 was the creation of the angels. Which was like their flirty fishing, and that was where it was kind of like from the beginning. It's like it didn't really seem this way, but then as it progressed, they became more to where, let's really push with the sex angle because we got something there.
And they got younger and younger, the angels. Now that I think of it, and I think he married a girl who was pretty darn young. Now that you bring it up,
he's the UFO Hugh Hefner.
Yeah. I mean. Victoria's Secret did it. Why not the aliens?
This is
So what happens? What happens with Eve? Have we met or learned it? No. There's never been any scientific evidence that they successfully cloned a human. They initially promised DNA proof, but then reneged because of the parents' privacy. There's never been any photos, no medical reports, no independent confirmations of her existence. It's very reminiscent of a whole X-Files arc.
Yeah.
Of child. I mean, it's like they might have even been called Eve. Does anybody remember? Tanya and I watched the main arc, watched the like Smoking Man arc about 6 or 8 months ago. I think that they were called Eve, the child clones, and I think what's her name had one.
Yes,
Scully.
Yeah, it was season 1, episode 11, Eve.
Yeah, there you go.
And that was search for 2 missing girls who are identical, and they basically, it continues. It was a eugenics project, which pretty much you could really make a case that they were kind of liking it off of that thing, because this was 93, so this would have been almost like a foreshadowing of the Eve thing.
Right. Yeah.
So, yes, thank you, Tanya, for that. That helped. That yes, I was able to.
So in 2003, U.S. government investigation into clonate. Again, no charges are filed due to lack of evidence. So they were good because people left the laboratory and came out and spoke and all of those kinds of things. Basselier is still doing cloning research to this day, and lots of people are doing cloning research. It's one of those things, Craig, where like it was frowned upon in forward-facing governments, but it still kind of goes on in different aspects. They're still active today, folks, in case you want to join, in case what we've told you is at all appealing and you want to get involved. And they have followers in multiple countries. So depending where you watch the show from around the world, they might have a spot for you. And then I really would encourage you to watch. It was just last year, 2024, Rael, the Alien Prophet. It's pretty interesting. It's pretty interesting.
Yeah, it's one of those, I think, like for me, it really looked like a guy that would it was right there at the end, the real end of the hippie movement. He continued it, and who knows? I mean, who knows if it was just an acid trip, and that's when he, the heavens opened up, his revelation, and he went with it, and it kind of seems like, because he preaches that like through the beginning, it was just like, no inhibitions, just do this, it's like through free expression of love and stuff. That is how we become one with the Creator, and it went through there. And then it's just like anything as it goes. It's just, you always have the people that take it too far. And that's kind of, for me, it's like, I don't, like in the very beginning, I don't see anything where it's like he had an overt, like sinister side, like this is what I intend to do. It just is one of those, I think, just like anything, he just let the, the pleasures, control his actions more than, than an overriding dogma. And so
go ahead, sir.
No.
I think it's the old absolute power corrupts. Absolutely. I mean, how many cults and sinister ministries have we covered now? Quite a few. Sometimes we would do as many as 3 in an episode. And that's the common, these guys get more and more and more power. It's a trick I do not possess. I do not have a cult of personality.
I agree, Tanya.
What'd you say?
Yeah, I'm more interested in the cult that'll offer me $600 a month rent. Yeah.
As long as you want to,
say Scientology, if you really want to make a comeback, there you go.
Well, as long as you want to sleep with senators and congressmen, you're welcome to stay over. Babe,
yeah.
So we can talk about that after the show. I actually turned my head. I think she's in the next room. Up. We just got frozen. No.
I think every now and then you just have little little blips, but it's like normally it's like most people
get exhausted.
Yeah, most people, like as I see it, they'll see that YouTube definitely has a much more free experience than you don't have a lot of the pixelating and all that stuff that happens on it.
So there you go. So Tanya, if you join the family, get us some kind of perk or something for sending you along. Jesus plus nothing. I'm all about the $600 rent. How can I get that? So Craig, let me talk about what we have coming up because it's exciting.
Yes.
Odd and interesting VP picks. We'll also talk a little bit about how the VP thing, because it always wasn't the way that it was. Started out different, and it caused a big ruckus. April 14th is the Timber Sycamore, which I know nothing about. April 21st, the Amityville debunking. And then April 28th, folks, if you can only watch one show in April, I would watch the Butterfly Revolution because we're watching elements of it unfold in real time, especially with recent comments by Speaker Johnson about certain things. So this is interesting. It's sort of a companion piece to Project 2025 in a way. And if you see the templates, at least you can understand. If you see the playbook, which Craig and I got considerable pushback from certain quadrants for Project 2025, but I stand by our doing it because if you know the playbook, you have context. So what is going on? Just like Steve Bannon's flood the field with shit. or Rahm Emanuel's never let a good crisis go to waste.
Saul
All these
Alinsky.
things, Craig, help us. Yeah. Saul
Yeah,
Alinsky. Yeah.
Yeah, there's nothing like I said. I think too many people are focused on what the top, like that part, and they get the outrage on that part without realizing it's like, no, you've got to set up the framework on how these things come about. It's like, yeah,
This
it's
isn't
just,
willy-nilly.
you know,
This is an operation with a capital O, right? Wouldn't you say?
Yep.
Regardless of where you sit politically, because at the I hate for us to get boiling water poured on us in the last 2 minutes of the show. No matter where you sit politically, simply saying that what is taking place it's not an F fest. It is an operation. And it's an operation that's been developed in the interim between DT1 and DT2. So anyway, that's that. So please tune in. Craig, what was the thing that we were talking about? Maybe in early May, I'm going to make a note. Maybe we'll do something on the pyramids for Into the Outer Realms, because I don't want to lose that brand completely.
No, because we have that one in this, because there's definitely two sides of the camps where this is failed scans that don't, that weren't properly interpreted, and people are running with it. And then there's the other where they, this is information that I've always known. But then there's also the people where I've even cautioned them. You do not want to stake your entire reputation and everything upon something that hasn't been verified several times independently. And they're already talking about, see, this is the stuff I've been preaching about that. And I'm like, yeah, if this comes out as false, it's like, then how are you going to backtrack on that?
Yeah,
you can't stake everything on this.
Right. That's why I'm thinking 5 weeks from now, it may have calmed down. There's a lot of people shouting back and forth across the aisles. I don't like to get involved with stuff while that's going on. Charles said for our Wednesday night radio audience, 10 p.m. on Wednesday nights, we appreciate you on ERT Radio, and Ronald, all that you do. The Order of the Solar Temple was the series of mass endings or life. What was that phrase that Charles used? That was a good one. Life finishing?
Life.
I can't find it. So anyway, sir, it's always good to be with you.
Yes. Definitely. It's like we always say, it's one of the things, if you guys have got a topic, throw it out there.
Yeah.
I know you guys are enjoying this thing, but man, nobody has thrown any topics our way yet.
Yeah.
So I'm like, there's got to be something out there.
We'll check it out.
We'll check it out. As always, don't be sinister, stay mysterious, but still, don't be that mysterious. God, you got to give us some information here. Help us.
Let's go to media assets.
All right.
Yeah.
So everybody, thank you. Folks, VP picks. This is gonna be a good one. Like I said, come back in.
Yeah, that's gonna
come in with your.
Good night. Here we go.
Do you have a sinister mystery in mind? Let us know by sending us a DM or comment in the chat. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. Till next time, stay mysterious.